For this young team, how important is it, and how much time are you as coaches making sure that you make the most out of this time?
It's a very important time, to develop these younger players, almost kind of a spring ball feel, making sure that they're improving with their fundamentals and the things that it takes to be experts at their position. So I think these practices certainly are very valuable.
You guys, as coaches, enjoy kind of getting back to some of the basics. You're not time to actually work with these guys instead of just game planning and kind of installing stuff all.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit for the younger players, to get them in there and get them some reps and not have to know exactly what's going on or feel like, you can't make a mistake or we're, going to give up a big play. So that part of it has been good. But in the same time, we're still obviously very focused on Iowa and what we need to do to win the football game.
Anyone in particular you were kind of eager to get a closer look at during these spring practices, guys who maybe haven't played a whole lot?
Yeah, you have the up front, really not anybody, right now. Just the guys have been rolling through pretty solid up front. At linebacker, Elliott, Berry, Chris Weathered, Cortez McDowell, who we moved there. Those guys, to get some work in the back end. Evan Berry, getting him some reps back there, I think is going to be invaluable. Most of the guys have, gotten pretty decent amount of reps. So those are probably the highlights, of the young guys that really want to see.
It seemed like at the end of the Vanderbilt game, Kenny kind of came in more for Jakob. How much are they kind of competing for that spot, not only for the bowl game?
Yeah, they're competing each week, and Kenny does a good job when his number's called, and we'll make a determination as we enter bowl practice and who's going to get that starting job.
Are those the two guys you're kind of looking at inside linebacker? Anybody else that could move or step up there?
No, we're just the numbers are so low. Until we can get some new guys in here, it's really those two.
John, when you have a position like middle linebacker where AJ was there for so long, and you look at Kenny and Jakob now kind of have an opportunity, is it refreshing to see those guys? Or have they taken advantage of that, knowing, hey, this is kind of their opportunity? They have a month long to prove themselves there?
Yeah, I think they've both done an outstanding job of preparing, and that was the thing for me that was most important. So when everything happened and we knew we were going to go with Kenny and Jakob, I really challenged them to put the extra time in to make sure they had a thorough understanding of the game plan of what it was we were going to do. And I was really pleased with their efforts, the time that they put in, and so it's paid off.
How much of a game is this when you look at what Iowa does, that kind of they need to emphasize what they can do in this game? Because it seems like Iowa just wants to run right at you. They don't try and do
they don't make any bones about it, do they?
No.
Yeah, they run right at you, and inside outside zone. They got big physical offensive linemen. They got the Outland Trophy winner, and it's going to be a great challenge for us to stop the run consistently, each and every single down. They're very patient. They're not going to abort their game plan, and they're just going to. They have a belief in what it is they're doing, and they're going to stick to it.
Tommy was saying Iowa resembles Vanderbilt and what they do. Is that your assessment as well?
Yeah, a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets. Then they go to a fullback, and they bounce around between 12, 21, and 11, pretty good, and that's very similar to Vanderbilt. Some of the same sets, some of the same plays, and they're big up front, so we got a huge challenge.
What makes the left tackle Sheriff
He's extremely athletic. He's huge to begin with, but he's got great feet. He can pull. He can pass set. He gets on a block and he stays with it. He's physical. He plays with the demeanor. Yeah, he's really good. He's a no-brainer.
Are you guys excited about that challenge, Derek Barnett and Kurt McDaniel?
Yeah, absolutely. We met today and talked about Iowa's personnel and some of the things that they do well and some of the things that we have to be aware of with their personnel. And those guys I know are excited.
Evan Berry's gotten a few reps over on the offensive side of the ball. How are y'all balancing that as a coaching staff? Are you fighting to keep him at defense, or how does that work?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Evan's going to be a great safety. We're just not in a great situation right now with depth at the running back position, so we have to have a contingency plan, and Evan is that contingency plan. Is he going to learn the whole offense? Obviously not, but he's got to get over there and learn how to take a handoff and learn how to read the plays that they want him to run, and then we get him back on defense and continue to work with him on defense.
So you see him as a safety kind of long term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No question. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, let's make that clear.
Given the similarities you mentioned between Iowa and Vanderbilt and what they run, do you feel like you may have a little bit of a head start having finished the season with Vanderbilt? Because they are a little bit similar?
It works both ways. We can feel like we have a head start, and then they have some good film to game plan off of. So it's really kind of a double-edged sword, so to speak. But you can't worry about what your opponent's doing. You got to focus on your team and what it takes to be successful. So yeah, I think that certainly was beneficial for us.
You mentioned just the size of their line. I mean, how do they compare to other teams you guys have seen this year? I mean, does their line remind you of anybody?
Third line. Yeah, I would say they're right comparable with a lot of the teams that we've played. Oklahoma, good size. I thought Oklahoma had a good offensive line. Obviously, Alabama, really good offensive line. So they're in there with all those guys.
I want to ask you about Kurt recently. How did you see him evolve in that position he's been playing this year?
The biggest improvement Kurt has made has been in his pass rush. When we first got here, he'd run right down the middle of a guy. He wasn't technique conscious, and he's really improved in that area. That's helped us tremendously.
How has he improved in that area? What is he
Technique, getting off the ball, knowing how to, keep a point on a quarterback, all those things.
How did you guys have to organize it with him this year in terms of him playing two different positions?
It's not easy. We got to say, hey, if we're playing base personnel, he gets the first part of the meeting with Coach Thigpen, and then he goes over with Coach Strip. Or if there is no base in the game plan, he just stays with Coach Strip the whole time.
Do you guys have to kind of call in between a meeting? How do you kind of signal?
Yeah, just tell him, hey, you need to get over here and get. I just tell him, hey, Kurt, I need you in the linebacker meeting the first 20 minutes, and then you go to the D line.
How tough is it for a kid to process all that?
I would think it would be really challenging, but Kurt is extremely smart, and he's committed, and he puts the time in. So it's been pretty easy for him. It does limit, some of the things that you can do, but I'm pleased with what Kurt has been able to bring at both positions, the linebacker position and the defensive line position.
How did you guys kind of draw that up at the beginning when you were thinking about, okay, what are we going to do with Kurt? How did you guys kind of decide, okay, we can have?
I've done that before in the past with players, outside linebacker position who, they're borderline defensive ends, to begin with. And so it really wasn't, much of a decision, considering he's one of our best players. So we have to find a way to get him on the field.
Who were some other guys you did that with?
And I'll say this, that's part, my pedigree, I coached in Division II. And so you have to be creative and be able to do things like that. So I'm glad Kurt is the young man he is, because he takes it seriously and he puts the time in, and that's really the biggest difference.
Was there a model?